Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video, I want to educate you about the Marchman Act and specifically how long can you keep somebody in treatment under the Marchman Act. So the statute says that an initial order for treatment services, and remember there's two parts to Marchman Act, assessment and treatment. The initial order for treatment services is up to 90 days, not for 90 days, but up to 90 days, which means that in theory, the facility could release somebody prior to 90 days. It also means they have some discretion in what level of care the person's at. Is it residential? Is it partial hospitalization? Is it outpatient? That's really going to be determined in part by the assessment. What does the assessment say? What's the recommendation for the assessment? And also, once the person's in treatment, can the facility make that decision, right, in terms of what's appropriate, what's clinically appropriate. And as a general rule, the facility is going to have some discretion. But somebody said to me, well, Mark, you've told us in other videos that, that recovery is a journey, it's not a destination, and typically this is a year-long journey. If that court order is only good for 90 days, well, how does that help? And I think that's a great question. Well, one of the things that the Marchman Act does provide for is for an extension. So what does that mean? That means that any time prior to the expiration of the current order, in other words, any time prior to the end of the 90 days, if that's what the court order says, we can file a petition for extension and ask the court for another 90 days. But it does mean that the facility is going to have to prepare another assessment and basically advise the court, hey, Your Honor, we're going to need more time, and this is how much more time. So great, now we go from 90 days to 180 days, and as I've said before, I think it's a year-long journey to get somebody in recovery, and it starts with keeping somebody in treatment a minimum of 90 days. 180 days is better, and I'll tell you, our typical Marchman Act case usually goes for 180 days, and we usually do at least one extension, and then of course after that, if things look good, and again, it's going to depend on what the professionals at the treatment center are telling us, but if things look good, then we can start working on this whole continuum of care. 12 steps, getting a sponsor, going to meetings, continuing with some type of outpatient care, living in a recovery residence, being med compliant. At that point, they're probably going to be okay to do, have some kind of work, do some kind of work, obviously staying out of trouble, not having positive, or failing a drug test, those types of things. But I will tell you, I had a young man that came from a foreign state. I kept them under the Marchman Act for 2 years. And every 90 days, I went back in and we said to the court, he needs more time. He needs more time. Now, this was somebody with a horrific drug history. He'd been in and out of prison as a young man. I think he was in his mid to late 20s. And he needed a long, runway to not only experience recovery, but develop the skill set that's necessary. So initial typical period is 90 days, although I've seen it be a little bit less. I actually one court order for 60, but that was sort of an outlier, as it were. Typically it's 90 days, we get an extension, and now we're halfway to that 1-year program. So that's what you're looking at. The Marchman Act can be extended. So with that said, if you have any comments or questions, please post them. I read all of them, and I typically respond within about 24 hours and sometimes just a tad quicker. If you liked the video, I'd love a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.